The essence of this course is simple. If you want to be a good communicator, learn to talk about numbers. You gotta love numbers. They are universal, unique, efficient symbols that pack lots of information into a short space. Contrary to the vague, wishy-washy language of global business that often leave us confused and misunderstood, numbers are by nature low context and speak for themselves. No interpretation and no culture is required to understand them. Now, while many Korean professionals have difficulty with this important language, the good news is that even native speakers have problems communicating financial information to a non-specialist audience. To make numbers stick in the minds of the audience, numbers should be delivered with a special rhythm and stress that requires practice, practice, practice. It is especially important to reveal the data in the context of a story and to keep the audience engaged. For Koreans engaged in global business, the benefits of this program are many. Not only will you learn to talk about statistics, charts, tables, financial reports in an engaging way, you will also save lots of money on English classes, because a derivative benefit of financial presentation is to help participants get to the point and keep the message front and center, i.e. the default setting of English. Now for the first lesson in this series, I'd like to look at tables. Let's begin with that. When you are talking about tables, it is important to do so in a way that engages the audience. Essentially, you tell them a story, isolating key data from the table and explaining what caused the significant changes. It is important to vary the tone and intersperse technical language with everyday speech. Here is the general structure that we will practice in a minute. Tell the audience what you are describing. Give them a snapshot of the overall trend in everyday language. If possible, make this fun. Start with the most inclusive data point. Explain dramatic changes. Tell the story behind these changes and predict the future trend. Here's an example. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'd like to talk about consumer goods sales in Korea from 2008 to 2010. As you can see, these last few years have been traumatic for the economy, reflected here in the manic bipolar fluctuations in the consumer goods sales. Consumer goods sales rose 2.6% in 2009 compared to the previous year. This is good news given that the economy has gone into freefall in the last quarter of 2008 and the first quarter of 2009, thanks to the collapse of Lehman Brothers and the subsequent financial crisis. You will see here that automobile sales fell roughly 20% in the last quarter of 2008 and the first quarter of 2009. People who fear for the future are reluctant to buy big cash items like cars and washing machines, hence the decline. However, the second quarter of 2008, things began to improve. Car sales bounced back, rising a massive 76.9% in the fourth quarter, thanks to the stimulus packages from the US and Korea that encouraged people to run out and buy new cars. Also, things are looking positive in 2010, with January CGS rising nearly 40% compared to the previous year. That's about it. Remember to keep your language upbeat and your tone fresh. The key points to remember is to slow down and put big stress on key data. And also don't forget to explain the reasons for these changes. Now, before we finish, let me go over some of the main points. Tell the audience what you are describing. Don't assume they know. Summarize the overall trend. Always present the data with the time. In the second quarter of 2009, car sales rose 20% year on year. Compare annual statistics before quarterly. Describe most significant quarterly changes. Use adjectives to stress the degree of change. There was a slight increase. There was a huge increase in quarter two. Telegraph or signal major changes. However, things got worse in quarter two, then things began to improve. You're kind of bridging the major changes. Keep your language simple at all times. Use verbs like rise and fall, increase, decrease. Don't vary the verbs too much. Just keep it simple. Okay, that's about it. Thank you for listening to this lecture, and if you'd like further information, please visit our website.